Hi, I'm Jessica. Today we're going to be talking about the present perfect verb tense. Woo woo! Present perfect is actually a very important verb tense, and so that's why I'm excited, because I think it's something that you will definitely benefit knowing because we use it a lot. This lesson today is intended for intermediate English language learners, but if you're a high beginner and you're really interested in learning this grammar concept, then that's fine. Join us today and see if you can understand it. This lesson is not part of the Learn English Fast series because it's going to take me longer than 5 or 10 minutes to explain this grammar concept. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, which sentence do you think is correct? Number 1, I traveled a lot in my lifetime, or I have traveled a lot in my lifetime. So think about it. Both of these have a different meaning, but hopefully you chose I have traveled a lot in my lifetime, number 2. So let's look at this. I have traveled a lot in my lifetime. You're still alive, you're not dead, so your life is still going on. Or you could just say, I have traveled a lot. So in the past, you have traveled a lot, and it still relates to now. So if you look at this timeline, in the middle is now, and then we have in the past and then the future. So if this were me, then if you see, oh, maybe I traveled then, another time, another time, another time, another time, and wow, all of these times in the past I have traveled. So all of these times in the past up until now. So I could say, I have traveled a lot, or I have traveled a lot in my lifetime. Maybe I went to China, another time I visited Mexico, I traveled to Italy, I went to Hawaii, I went to New York, I traveled to Las Vegas. So these would be all different times I have traveled. So if you see, a lot of times. If you notice, I used went to, visited, traveled to. They all mean the same thing. You can use any of them. You can say I went to China, I visited China, I traveled to China. However, something to remember would be if you use went or traveled, went to, traveled to, you need to use the preposition to. However, if you use visited, do not use the preposition to. You would just say visited Mexico, not visited to Mexico. You don't need the to. Let's compare. If I say I have traveled a lot, then that means through my whole life so far. I have traveled to many different places. And if you were to compare this with just the simple past, I traveled a lot, this would mean in the past. In the past you traveled a lot, but not anymore. When we use a simple past here, it means it was completed, over and done with. You can add a time to make it very specific. I traveled in 2015. 2015 is in the past, it's over and done with. Right? In 2015 would be a time in the past. They bought a new car a year ago. A year ago is a time in the past. So right now while I'm recording this, it is 2018. So if you're watching this in 2019, 2020, hello to the future. But right now, 2018, a year ago would be 2017. So they bought a new car last year in 2017. It was in the past, over and done with. That's why we're using simple past. When you use the simple past, the action has been completed. It's finished. If you say, I have traveled a lot, it's not finished. So up until now, you have traveled a lot, and then in the future, you're probably going to continue to travel more. So it has not been completed. If you say, I traveled a lot, then you don't travel a lot anymore. It's finished in the past. So you might say, well, how do I make the present perfect verb tense? Do you know the grammar structure? So you should have said has or have plus PP. PP would be the past participle. So it's very important we go over past participles or PPs. You need this to make correct sentences in the present perfect verb tense as well as some other verb tenses, including passive voice. So if you see in the table here, I gave you the base form, simple past, and then past participle. Base form, remember, is the base form of the verb. No S, no ED, no ING, just the base form. If you see the first one, work, simple past is worked, and past participle is worked. If it's a regular verb like work, then your past participle and your simple past verb tense will be the same. So if you see here, worked, worked. Visit, the next one, is a regular verb. What's the simple past for visit? Good, visited. And then the past participle, visited, good. Remember, all your regular verbs can take the ed ending, and the simple past and past participle will be the same. The three remaining ones are irregular verbs. Eat, go, and see. So they cannot take the ed. You cannot say eated. So eat, what's the simple past? Good. Ate, what's the PP? Eaten, good. Go, what's the simple past? Went, good. And what's the PP? Got. Excellent. Last one, see, simple past. Saw, and PP, see. Good. If you're not familiar with past participles, if you need to study them, then go ahead. Here are some lists that you can use. You could go to these two websites. I've also put these websites as well as a PDF file on my website, so you can go there, check them out, or download them. It's really important to memorize the past participles. Okay, so you might say, I know the grammar structure, but when do I use the present perfect verb tense? Well, I'm glad you asked. So one of the times we use it is when you talk about something that began in the past and continues to the present. Like our original example, I have traveled a lot in my lifetime. Another example would be, Rob has been late to work a lot lately. So in the past, he was late, and then late again, and then late again. He is still late. So it's something that started in the past and continues till now. Another example, they have lived next door to us for 12 years. So 12 years ago, they moved next door to us. They are next door neighbors. So 12 years ago, they moved there, and then up until now, they still live next door to us. So it started 12 years ago in the past, and it still continues up until now. You also use the present perfect verb tense when you talk about an unspecified time in the past. Unspecified means not specific. So if I say Tuesday, 2012, that's a specific time in the past. So unspecified time, Jessica has lived in Asia. Do you know when I have lived in Asia? Based on this sentence, no, so it's unspecified time. Just sometime in my past, sometime in the past, I have lived in Asia, but you don't know when. That would be unspecified time. I have tried stinky tofu in Taiwan. So this would be, again, sometime in the past, but you don't know when in the past. If you're wondering, what is stinky tofu? This is a popular dish in Taiwan. Some people like it, some people don't. If you look at the name stinky tofu, it gets the name because it's a little bit stinky or smelly. It has a certain smell to it, and it's tofu that is fermented. So if you're ever in Taiwan, you can try it. That's a special food there. Another occasion that we use the present perfect verb tense is for repeated activities. Things that happened a number of times before now, or it can even happen once before now. For example, Michiko has watched Titanic many times. Abdullah has climbed Mount Everest 2 times. So I'm going to show you the timeline again. So again, in the middle is now. And then if we look at Michiko has watched Titanic many times. So Michiko watched Titanic for the first time, then she watched it again, another time, another time, another time. So she has watched it many times. So if you see, we're looking at the past, and then this action has been done many times. And like I said, it doesn't have to be more than once. It could even be once. I can say, Michiko has watched Titanic 1 time, or once. And we don't know when, sometime in the past she did this. So you're talking about repeated activities or something that's been done a number of times. Abdullah has climbed Mount Everest 2 times. In the past, 2 times he did this. Okay, important things to remember. If you use I, you, we, they, should we use has or have? Good, we should use have. I have, you have, we have, they have. If you use he, she, it, and a person's name, should we use has or have? You should have said has. So he has eaten, she has eaten, it has eaten, and person's name like Tony, Jose, Angela, any person's name, Jessica, has eaten. So you want to remember these, which ones go with which. Another thing to remember is that you can contract some words. Contract means put together. If you see here, he has run several marathons. If you contract it, you can say he's run. You can contract he and has and put them together. He's run several marathons. In spoken English, if we can contract, we will because it's faster. He has run, he's run, it's faster. I have drunk a lot of water today. What would it be contracted? I've drunk a lot of water today. So for this one, you might say, today, why are we using present perfect? Well, you have to think about it. Is today over with? No, it's not. Today is still going on. So maybe since the person woke up in the morning, they started drinking water, and then up until now, they have drunk a lot of water. But today isn't over with yet, so he or she might be drinking more for the rest of the day. So since today hasn't finished, today isn't over with yet, we are going to use the present perfect. Ling has not tried Turkish food. Contracted together, Ling hasn't tried Turkish food. So this one is with the negative not. So has not would be contracted. The next sentence is also using the negative not. We have not gone to the beach this year. We haven't gone to the beach this year. Right, that'd be sad. I love the beach. So contracted, which actually I accidentally just said it, haven't. We haven't gone to the beach this year. So these would be all examples of how you can contract. Both are correct, but if you want to contract, you can. Let's look at how long, for, and since. We often use how long, for, and since with the present perfect verb tense to talk about something that began in the past and continues to the present time. Let's look at these examples. How long have they known each other? They have known each other for 10 years, or they have known each other for a decade. I have had these shoes for 3 years. So here, using for, the previous sentence, how long would be time duration. And the last one, Min has lived in New York since 2016. So you might be wondering, when do we use for and when do we use since? So we use these two words to say how long something has been happening or how long something has been going on. Let's look, because you might say, well, when do I use for? When do I use since? Let me break it down for you. If you look here, we're going to use for with a period of time. You want to think if it's a word that I can count. I can count it and add an S. If it's a period of time, I can count like day. I can count days, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, or years, months. These are ones you will use with for. So for example, for 10 minutes, for 3 hours, for 5 days, for a week or for 1 week, same thing. You can count weeks, so 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, for 6 months, for 50 years, for ages, for a long time. For ages is an idiom that we use to mean for a long time. I have known my best friend for ages. It would mean I have known my best friend for a long time. And so if you see the last one, the phrase for a long time, that would be a special phrase we use with for. We don't count it. We don't say for long times. We don't count it. That's just a special phrase, just like for ages. For ages, for a long time, those are ones that would just say it just like that. Same with for years. For years means for a long time. I have lived in the US for years. I have lived in the US for ages. I have lived in the US for a long time. All the same meaning. Okay, now let's see, when do you use since? So you're going to use since when you mention a specific point in time. Since expresses the idea that something started at a specific time in the past and continues to now. So for example, if you started watching this video at, let's say, 2 o'clock, then you started it at 2 o'clock, a specific time in the past, and then you're still watching it now, this is when we would use since. So these ones you cannot add an S. So these ones you cannot count. So it's a specific point in time. So 10 o'clock, a certain time on the watch, you can't add the S, so that would be a specific point in time. 10 o'clock, since Tuesday, since yesterday, since August 1st, since February, since 1983. Think of a calendar and that you could point on a specific day or a specific year that would be used with since. Since Christmas, you can use these with holidays. I haven't seen my mother since Valentine's Day. I haven't talked to my brother since Christmas. So you can use holidays. That's a specific point in time, and maybe from then up until now, something has happened or hasn't happened. Since lunchtime, since breakfast, since we arrived, since I was a child. So these last two, since we arrived, since I was a child, these would be considered clauses. We put them with since, so they become since clauses. In the clauses, if you notice, there's a subject and a verb. We, subject, verb arrived. I, subject, verb was. In the since clauses, you need to use the simple past. So if you wear glasses, you might say, I have worn glasses since I was a child. So this means you started wearing glasses when you were a child and you still wear glasses now. That would be an example of using the since clause. Do you like my glasses? Okay, let's practice with for and since. Let's see if you can get these correct. You want to decide, should I use for or should I use since? So if you see number 1, should it be for 5 years or since 5 years? Good, for. Number 2, for 2001 or since 2001? Good, since 2001. Number 3, since Monday. Number 4, yeah, for a long time, for ages. Number 5, for 2 semesters. Remember, for with things you can count. So this time period is 1 semester, 2 semesters, 3 semesters, you can count semesters. And this usually relates to like school semesters. Last one, the beginning of the year. Should I do for or since? Yeah, since. That's a specific time period. So maybe I have studied Japanese since the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year you started it, and then still up until now you are doing it. Okay, I want you to practice again with for and since. Look at the picture and make a sentence with for and since and the verb work. So I want you to make one sentence using for and the verb work, and another sentence using since and the verb work. Both of these should be using the present perfect. So look at the picture and write down 2 sentences. If you want to pause the video right now, that's fine. I'm going to give you a little time right now, but it's completely fine if you want to pause the video, take a minute to think and write down sentences, and then push play again. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples. Remember, if you need more time, just push pause, stop the video, and when you're ready, push play again. These examples are not the only correct answer, they're just going to be examples of what you could have said. So I could say, Mike has worked at this company for 2 years. Or, Mike has worked at this company since 2016. Remember, right now, while I'm filming this, it's 2018. So 2016 to 2018 would be 2 years. If you want to have me check your sentences, you can write them in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to check them out and see if you're headed in the right direction. Some common phrases used with the present perfect would be recently, lately, this morning, this afternoon, this evening, this night, so far, in the last few days. Okay, let's talk about the use of adverbs and negatives. So if you use an adverb or a negative like not, it's going to come between has, have, and the PP. It's going to split it. It's going to come right in the middle. So if you see, I have finished my homework, if you want to use the adverb just, it's going to go in the middle and it's going to split it. I have just finished my homework. It will split it. Another example, she has always loved romantic movies. Always is going in the middle. Has loved is being split. Joseph has never been to France. The never in the middle. He has not tried sushi. So it's in the middle. Or remember, we could contract, he hasn't tried sushi. Let's talk about asking questions using the present perfect verb tense. Have you ever been to Disneyland? Have you been to Disneyland? Have you been to Disneyland before? These all are asking the same thing. Have you sometime in your life been to Disneyland? Have you sometime in your life been to Disneyland? So you can use any of these. Have you ever been to Disneyland? It just stresses it a little bit more. Have you been to Disneyland? Have you been to Disneyland before? So these are all different ways of asking the same question. You could use how long if you want to know time duration. How long have you been at Starbucks? So if you go to Starbucks and you see your friend, maybe your friend is doing homework there or drinking coffee, and then you want to know, when did your friend get to Starbucks? And from that point up until now, how long has he or she been at Starbucks? So you could ask, how long have you been at Starbucks? And maybe they say, I have been here for an hour, or I have been here since 9 a.m. How long has she worked at McDonald's? She has worked at McDonald's for 2 weeks, or she has worked at McDonald's since January. So these would be questions you can use with how long. So what you should do now is go to my website, www.jessicainthebong.com. On my website, you'll find this exact PowerPoint, which you can download and study from anytime you want. Also, there are additional resources as well as practice activities. Remember, practice makes perfect. You don't want to just watch the video, take notes, and then not do anything with the information that you just learned. So all this information about present perfect, now you want to put it to use. If you want to comment below, type some sentences for me to correct, I would love that. Otherwise, go to my website and do some practice with past participles, PPs, and then using the present perfect verb tense correctly. If you have any questions, you don't understand something that I said, then write it in the comment section below, and I would be more than happy to try to explain things to you and answer your question. In the near future, you're going to be seeing some present perfect speaking practice and the present perfect verb tense in songs. Listening to English songs is a good way to improve your English and to also study certain grammar points. So look for those lessons coming out soon. That way it'll help you learn even more about the present perfect. Well, I hope you learned a lot today and that you understood what I was trying to explain. Thank you for joining me. See you next time. Bye!